Can memories outlive the body? At the University of Virginia, scientists have spent decades investigating children who claim to remember past lives with shocking accuracy. These kids describe names, places, even violent deaths of strangers they've never met. Some bear birthmarks matching fatal wounds from their supposed past selves. Is it reincarnation? UVA researchers won't say proof, but for cases where every other explanation falls short, they ask, what if consciousness doesn't end when the brain stops? This isn't mysticism, it's a radical challenge to science itself. The question of whether the University of Virginia, UVA, has proved the existence of reincarnation is central to understanding a unique and often controversial line of academic inquiry. Decades of research, primarily housed within UVA's Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, have produced a substantial body of data concerning individuals, particularly young children, who report memories of previous lives. However, the term proof, especially in a scientific context, dealing with phenomena that challenge prevailing materialist paradigms, is laden with complexity. Researchers at UVA have meticulously documented cases they describe as suggestive of reincarnation, or for which reincarnation is offered as the best explanation. Yet they have consistently and consciously refrained from claiming absolute, irrefutable proof. This distinction is not merely semantic. It reflects the profound epistemological challenges inherent in investigating experiences that imply the mind might function independently of the brain or that consciousness could persist beyond physical death. The scientific investigation of such phenomena necessitates a rigorous evaluation of empirical evidence, often pushing the boundaries of mainstream scientific understanding regarding the nature of human consciousness. The very nature of these inquiries means that the evidence gathered, while sometimes compelling, does not lend itself to the kind of controlled, replicable laboratory experiments that form the bedrock of proof in many other scientific domains. Instead, the research often involves detailed case studies, historical verification, and the analysis of patterns across numerous accounts. This approach, while systematic, operates in an area where definitive conclusions are elusive, and the interpretation of findings remains subject to ongoing debate. The research at UVA, therefore, represents less a claim of settled proof and more an ongoing, methodical exploration of anomalous experiences that resist conventional explanation. He, Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, a unique academic endeavor. The focal point for reincarnation research at the University of Virginia is the Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, a specialized research unit operating within the UVA School of Medicine's Department of Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Sciences. DOPS was established with the explicit mission to the rigorous evaluation of empirical evidence for extraordinary human experiences and capacities. A primary focus of DOPS has been investigating the mind's relationship to the body and the possibility of consciousness surviving physical death, with reincarnation studies forming a cornerstone of this endeavor. Since its inception, DOPS holds a distinctive position in academia as one of the very few university-affiliated research groups in the world dedicated to the scientific study of phenomena often categorized as paranormal, including near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and most extensively, cases of children reporting memories of past lives. The sustained nature of this research is evidenced by a long list of academic publications, including numerous books and journal articles authored by DOPS faculty. Due to the unconventional nature of its research topics, which often challenge mainstream scientific paradigms, DOPS has historically relied significantly on private funding and endowments rather than traditional governmental or university research grants. A pivotal moment in its history was the substantial financial support provided by Chester Carlson, the inventor of xerography. Carlson's $1 million bequest in 1968 was instrumental in freeing Dr. Stevenson from many routine academic duties, allowing him to dedicate himself more fully to his groundbreaking and globe-spanning research into reincarnation. This reliance on private philanthropy underscores both the academic freedom that can enable such research and its somewhat peripheral status relative to conventionally funded scientific programs, highlighting the ongoing tension between institutional affiliation and the controversial subject matter. The existence of DOPS within a respected university like UVA lends its work a degree of academic legitimacy and a framework for systematic investigation. However, this institutional setting also subjects its research to heightened scrutiny and, at times, internal and external skepticism, as evidenced by past attempts by some university alumni to shut down the division, arguing it damaged the university's reputation. Dr. Ian Stevenson, from mainstream psychiatry to uncharted territories, was a Canadian-born psychiatrist who, prior to his deep engagement with parapsychology, had established a respected career in mainstream academic medicine. He served as professor of psychiatry, as chairman of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. His intellectual journey towards the study of phenomena suggestive of reincarnation was not an abrupt departure, but rather an evolution stemming from his broader interests in the nature of human personality, psychosomatic medicine, and the perceived limitations of purely genetic and environmental explanations for certain human traits, abilities, and illnesses. Stevenson's early academic work already hinted at an independent mind. One of his early papers challenged prevailing Freudian doctrines on childhood personality development, which was not well received by some colleagues at the time, and perhaps prepared him for the skepticism he would later face. His formal entry into parapsychological research was significantly spurred by an essay he wrote, "The Evidence for Survival from Claimed Memories of Former Incarnations," which won a contest sponsored by the Parapsychology Foundation. This essay, reviewing 44 published cases, solidified his interest. He came to believe that conventional explanations, heredity, and environment were insufficient to account for certain phobias, unusual skills, and even some physical conditions observed in children, proposing that some form of personality or memory transfer might offer a third explanatory avenue. Stevenson's systematic approach, documenting cases suggestive of reincarnation. Dr. Stevenson's research primarily centered on young children, typically between the ages of 2 and 7, often starting around 2 or 3 years old, who spontaneously began to speak about a previous life. These accounts were not elicited through hypnosis, but arose naturally in the course of the child's development. His methodology was characterized by meticulous and extensive fieldwork, often involving travel to remote locations across the globe, including India, Sri Lanka, Brazil, Lebanon, and Alaska, among others. Investigations of individual cases could span many years and involved several key components. Detailed recording of child's statements. Stevenson and his associates would carefully document the specific claims made by the child regarding the purported past life. Multiple informant interviews. He interviewed the child, parents, siblings, and other family members, as well as individuals in the community who might have knowledge relevant to the case. Verification efforts. A crucial step was the attempt to verify the child's statements by comparing them to the life details of a specific deceased individual, the previous personality. This involved searching for a person whose life, circumstances, relationships, and manner of death matched the child's account. Stevenson's approach was painstaking. His published case reports often included lists of every person interviewed and detailed tables cross-referencing each of the child's statements with the informants who reported them and the individuals who verified their accuracy concerning the deceased person's life. He emphasized solved cases where a previous personality was successfully identified and the child's memories were found to correspond closely to that person's life, often in ways that seemed inexplicable by normal means of information acquisition. This systematic and detailed documentation was a conscious effort to elevate what might otherwise be dismissed as mere anecdotes to the level of carefully investigated case studies, providing a robust empirical foundation for his claims. This shoe-leather research aimed to withstand the intense scrutiny his work would inevitably face. The unique evidentiary role of birthmarks and birth defects. One of the most distinctive and compelling aspects of Stevenson's research was his extensive documentation of birthmarks and, less commonly, birth defects found on children claiming past life memories, which appeared to correspond in striking detail to wounds often fatal unless sustained by the identified previous personality. This line of inquiry sought to provide a physical, potentially objective correlate to the primarily psychological claims of memory. Stevenson meticulously investigated these physical correspondences. When available, he obtained and cited medical records, including autopsy reports or police records, to confirm the nature and location of wounds on the deceased. In the absence of such official documentation, he relied on detailed eyewitness testimony from individuals who had seen the deceased's body. His 2-volume magnum opus, Reincarnation and Biology, a contribution to the etiology of birthmarks and birth defects, and 25 such cases, often featuring photographs of unusual and sometimes dramatic lesions, such as malformed digits, missing limbs, or distinctive scar-like marks that matched documented injuries on the previous personality. The photographic evidence collected is preserved in the DOPS library. This type of evidence was considered particularly significant because it seemed less susceptible to purely psychological explanations like fantasy or suggestion, hinting at a deeper, perhaps psychosomatic, link between the reported memories and the child's physical form. Major publications and Stevenson's carefully worded conclusions. Dr. Stevenson's research findings were disseminated through numerous scholarly articles and several influential books. Among the most notable are 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation, first published in 1966, revised in 1974, which presented detailed reports of his early investigations and became a classic in the field. This was followed by the multi-volume series Cases of the Reincarnation Type, which provided further case reports from various cultures and the aforementioned reincarnation in biology. Throughout his extensive publications, Stevenson maintained a consistently cautious and scientifically tempered approach to his conclusions. He characterized his findings as suggestive of reincarnation and argued that for the strongest and most thoroughly investigated cases, reincarnation appeared to be the best explanation available. However, he was adamant that the term proof should not be used in relation to his work, acknowledging that no single case, nor the collective body of evidence, offered flawless or compelling proof that would force belief. He openly discussed the weaknesses and limitations in his data and recognized the profound challenge posed by the absence of any known physical mechanism by which consciousness or memories could transfer from a deceased individual to a new body. This careful, qualified language, reflecting his psychiatric training and scientific rigor, was a hallmark of his approach to this highly controversial subject. Dr. Jim Tucker, carrying forward the research mantle. Following Dr. Ian Stevenson's retirement in 2002, the primary leadership of reincarnation research at DOPS was taken up by Dr. Jim B. Tucker. Dr. Tucker is a board-certified child psychiatrist and holds the position of Bonner Lowry Professor of Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Sciences at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. For 9 years, he also served as the medical director of the UVA Child and Family Psychiatry Clinic, bringing a strong background in clinical child psychiatry to this specialized research area. He worked closely with Dr. Stevenson for several years before assuming lead responsibility for the past life memory research. Dr. Tucker has described his own path to this research as one of initial skepticism. Raised as a Southern Baptist, he does not subscribe to any particular religion, but became open to the possibility that human consciousness might be more than a mere byproduct of brain function. His engagement with the case material led him to the view that, for the strongest and most compelling cases, reincarnation provides the best explanation for phenomena associated with the strongest cases investigated to date. This perspective, evolving from an initial skeptical stance, lends a considered weight to his ongoing work. His deep involvement in this field, despite its controversial nature, underscores a commitment to exploring these challenging questions. Sharpening focus, American cases, and modern investigative tools. A notable shift in emphasis under Dr. Tucker's direction has been a greater concentration on investigating cases of children reporting past life memories within the United States and other Western cultures. While Dr. Stevenson's research was global, a significant portion of his early and most well-known cases originated in Asia. Dr. Tucker's focus on American cases serves multiple strategic purposes. It directly addresses lingering criticisms about cultural contamination or suggestion being primary drivers of such claims in societies with strong reincarnation beliefs, and it makes the research more accessible and potentially relatable to a Western scientific and public audience. This strategic refinement aims to demonstrate that the phenomenon is not confined to specific cultural contexts. The advent of modern technology, particularly the internet, has also influenced the research process, primarily by facilitating the initial identification of potential cases and allowing for preliminary information gathering more efficiently than was possible in earlier decades. While the core methodology of detailed interviews and verification remains, these tools can streamline certain aspects of the investigation, systematizing evaluation. The strength of case scale, SOCS, in an effort to introduce a more systematic and somewhat quantitative approach to evaluating the evidential strength of individual cases. Dr. Tucker developed the strength of case scale, SOCS. This scale assesses potential reincarnation cases based on four primary aspects. Birthmarks, birth defects. The presence of birthmarks or birth defects on the child that correspond to wounds or other marks on the claimed previous personality, and the quality of evidence supporting this correspondence. Statements about the previous life. The number, specificity, and accuracy of verifiable statements made by the child concerning the previous life. Relevant behaviors. The presence of behaviors, phobias, philias, or unusual skills in the child that align with the reported previous life and are otherwise unexplained in the current life context. Overall case quality. A broader assessment considering factors such as the likelihood of normal explanations, e.g., fraud, cryptomnesia, parental suggestion, the quality of informants, and the conditions under which statements were recorded and verified. The SOCS assigns points based on these factors, allowing for a comparative assessment of case strength. For example, research utilizing this scale has indicated that cases where children report memories of an intermission period between the past death and current birth tend to achieve significantly higher mean SOCS scores, suggesting they are, by these criteria, stronger cases. The development of SOCS reflects an ongoing effort to refine methodologies and address criticisms regarding the subjective nature of case evaluation in this field. This drive towards greater systematization is a key feature of the research's evolution. Dr. Tucker's background as a child psychiatrist is particularly relevant here. His clinical training equips him to assess children's testimonies with a nuanced understanding of developmental psychology, differentiate between childhood fantasy and potentially anomalous recall, and evaluate the complex family dynamics that might influence a child's statements. This expertise is crucial in the rigorous process of ruling out conventional explanations before a paranormal one, such as reincarnation, is considered. Tucker's perspective on findings and the elusive mechanism consistent with Dr. Stevenson's cautious approach. Dr. Tucker does not claim that the research has definitively proven reincarnation. Instead, he views it as a plausible and often the best available explanation for the phenomena observed in the most thoroughly investigated and compelling cases, particularly those where conventional explanations seem inadequate. One of the most significant challenges for the reincarnation hypothesis is the absence of a known or scientifically accepted physical mechanism by which memories, personality traits, or consciousness could persist after bodily death and transfer to another individual. Acknowledging this critical gap, Dr. Tucker has speculated that concepts from quantum mechanics might one day offer a framework for understanding such a process. He has suggested that consciousness might not be solely a product of the physical brain, and that quantum phenomena could potentially allow for the continuity of memories and emotions across lives. However, it is crucial to note that this suggestion is highly speculative and has been largely rejected by mainstream physicists who do not see current quantum theory as supporting such an application. This attempt to engage with the mechanism problem, even if unsuccessful thus far, highlights the researchers' awareness of this fundamental scientific hurdle: children's detailed statements and verifiable memories. The cornerstone of most investigated cases is the spontaneous emergence of statements from young children, usually between the ages of 2 and 4, about a purported previous existence. These are not vague feelings, but often involve specific details, names, places, and events related to the life and death of a particular individual. Children may speak of a different family, a different home, and sometimes recount the circumstances of their death, often in an emotionally charged manner. Examples of such statements include assertions like, "You're not my mommy, daddy," "I have another mommy, daddy," or detailed recollections such as, "When I was big, I used to have blue eyes, a specific car, worked downtown." A critical component of the research methodology is the attempt to verify these specific details. Investigators meticulously record the child's claims, ideally before any attempt at verification is made, and then seek to match them to the life of a deceased person. This involves checking names of people and places, descriptions of homes or occupations, family relationships, and the manner of death against historical records, witness testimonies, and other available information. In a significant percentage of cases, DOPS reports around 70% of its database consists of such solved cases. The previous personality is identified, and many of the child's statements are found to be accurate for that individual, often concerning information to which the child and their current family seemingly had no normal access. The Ryan Hammond's case, for instance, involved 55 specific statements about a previous life that were reportedly verified: behavioral, emotional, and skill-based correspondences. Beyond specific memories and physical marks, children in these cases often exhibit unusual behaviors, emotional responses, and sometimes skills that appear to align with the claimed previous life. Phobias and philias. Many children display intense phobias, e.g., fear of water, specific types of vehicles, weapons, or locations. Or, conversely, strong philias, unusual attractions or likings that are directly linked to the experiences or very commonly, the mode of death of the previous personality. Dr. Stevenson reported that in one series of 387 cases, 36% of the children showed such phobias, which sometimes manifested even before the child began to articulate their past life memories. Unusual play and skills. Children may engage in repetitive play that seems to reenact the occupation, e.g., a child playing at being a pilot or a shopkeeper consistent with the previous life, or significant life events, including occasionally the death scene of the previous personality, even when such play is incongruous with their current family's activities or knowledge. In rare instances, more complex unlearned skills are reported. The most striking of these is responsive xenoglossy, where a child demonstrates an ability to understand or speak a language to which they have had no known exposure in their current life, and that language was spoken by the claimed previous personality. While extremely rare, cases of xenoglossy are investigated by DOPS, as indicated by publications on the topic. Researchers note that in select cases, the unlearned language links to the country the child claims to have come from in a past life. Emotional recognitions and attachments. Children sometimes show strong emotional reactions upon meeting individuals or visiting places ostensibly known only to the previous personality. This can include expressions of recognition, affection, or longing for past life family members, and occasionally a stated preference for the previous family or a rejection of the current one. These behavioral and emotional correspondences add another layer to the case material, suggesting that more than just isolated memories might be involved. The recurrent theme of traumatic death, a consistent and statistically prominent finding across the decades of research, is the high proportion of reported previous lives that ended through violent or otherwise unnatural means, such as accidents, homicides, suicides, or combat. Approximately 70% of the cases in the DOPS database where the previous personality died an unnatural death fall into this category. This pattern suggests that a traumatic death may be a significant factor associated with the subsequent reporting of past life memories in a child. The intensity of such experiences could, hypothetically, create a more durable experiential trace. This observation has become a focal point for newer research initiatives at DOPS, which aim to explore potential trauma pathways in the manifestation of these memories. The various types of evidence collected by UVA researchers are often found in combination within a single case. It is this constellation of different evidential strand-specific, verifiable memories, corresponding birthmarks, unusual behaviors, or phobias, and emotional congruencies, all pointing towards a single, identifiable, deceased individual that researchers find most compelling. While any single piece of evidence might be attributable to coincidence or a conventional explanation, the convergence of multiple, seemingly independent lines of evidence in strong cases is argued to diminish the likelihood of purely conventional explanations and to make the reincarnation hypothesis a more parsimonious, if unconventional, fit for the data. Ultimately, the University of Virginia, through DOPS, has not proved reincarnation to the satisfaction of the broader scientific establishment. What it has done is to courageously and persistently investigate a challenging and enigmatic aspect of human experience, producing a unique and thought-provoking body of work. This research serves as a critical reminder of the value of investigating anomalies, those phenomena that do not fit neatly into existing scientific frameworks, as such inquiries can potentially catalyze deeper questions about the nature of consciousness, memory, and the human condition. The future of reincarnation research, both at UVA and elsewhere, will likely depend on its ability to further refine its methods, address the persistent question of mechanism, and engage constructively with the skepticism of the wider scientific community, potentially bridging the gap between these extraordinary human experiences and mainstream scientific understanding.